Happy Monday. Welcome to Draglist Live, where we get to bench race with the world's top drag racers. My name is Bill Pratt. It's great to be with you tonight. And tonight we're going to feature Nitro, Allie, and Mad Maxine. So excited to talk to them. And they've got a really cool new organization we're going to talk about. Before we bring them in, let's go to John. John, how are you doing tonight? John, can you hear me, sir? Oops, John might be he's having a couple of storms down there. So
Been doing great here, BP, and
oh,
howdy
there
from
you go.
Houston.
Hi, John.
Yeah, please join us on the live chat, folks. Tell us who you are and where you're
Well, John's having some internet issues. So tell us who you are, where you're from, and John will take it in the chat.
from. I'll take notes, and I'll pass you Maxine.
There you go. It sort of worked. John, you are kind of cutting in and out, my friend. So we'll watch that as the evening goes on. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Well, first of all, let me tell you this right now. Click the like, click the share button. Make sure your friends know we have Nitro, Allie, and Mad Maxine live. And let's go to the show. So Nitro, Allie, Mad Maxine, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having us.
It's so great to have you on. And I want to thank our buddy Kay Turkelson, who connected us with you. And she's like our impromptu producer these days. She gets us the coolest guests.
Miss Kay is an absolute sweetheart, and I am so grateful to have had a wonderful afternoon with her about 2 weeks ago. So thank you, Miss Kay. I appreciate you.
She's pretty cool. Well, we've seen you both online, a lot of on Facebook. So we're really looking forward to catching up. The one thing I found really interesting is you've got this new organization called National Drag Racing Ambassadors, and kind of tell us what that's all about.
So with the NDRA, we really started off. Allie actually kind of put the bug in my ear about having backup girls in the NHRA again, because that's part of the NHRA that just kind of fizzled out. There's still a couple that are out there. They don't get the TV time like the cars do, so you don't really see them unless you're actually at the race. And so Allie's like, hey, you want to help me with this project? It kind of got put on the back burner, a few months ago. We were like, all right, let's do something with this. And when she came to me about backup girls, I just feel like that's such a narrow market. And so I was like, how about we expand it and just call ourselves ambassadors? Because I feel like backup girls are so much more than just backup girls.
Right.
And so I take a lot of that from my experience with running Nitro Chaos. And these attributes I wanted to bring into our organization. And some of those included, so if I'm backing the car up, something breaks on the car, and we come back to the pits, my crew chief and my driver, they're both busy. They're taking the car apart. And so, I'm the point of contact. I'm out there selling shirts, taking pictures with people. And so I kind of made it my point to figure out what the car is doing, understanding the car, learning the language essentially of the engine and all the components of the car. And, I feel like that's a lot of the reason that I got so popular so quickly is because I have that. And so people will come back and they'll say, hey, what's going on? What'd your car run? I know the times. I know reaction. I know the whole time slip memorized in my head. If something went wrong with it, they're like, hey, what happened? And, I can have those conversations with people. And it just seemed to impress quite the audience there at our races. And so I'm like, Allie, if we bring this to all the women that are associated with drag racing, it's impressive. It is. And so I want and Allie's the same way. We want our organization to be more than just backup girls. We want these women to be educated. We want them to be beautiful. We want them to be well-spoken. And so that's really where we're going to go with it. So it's not your typical modeling agency, so to speak. I've noticed a lot with PRI and also races with the NHRA, they hire out modeling agencies. And so they put these beautiful women in these spots in front of large crowds of people. And I obviously can't speak for everybody, but in my experience going to PRI, I've tried to engage in a conversation with this woman. She was at a booth and I was trying to talk about the car that was in the booth. She had no clue what was going on. It was like a deer in the headlights moment. And I said, Allie, this is an untapped market. Like if we put these brilliant women in these positions, just imagine where it'll go. So here we are.
That's really great. You're absolutely right. When I was at the even at NASCAR, I was happened to be at a NASCAR event in Richmond, not by my choice, but one of my clients really liked them, so we took them. And they're really, attractive women standing around. I guess they were probably Winston girls at the time, but there was no kind of interaction. They were just like eye candy, right? I mean,
Beautiful faces.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be nice to have real people there. And certainly, the drag races, you had the Traxxas girls and all those folks. I suspect that was the same. I never really interacted with those folks, but yeah, but this is awesome. And the greats always took care of the cars. They always, the ones who started this way back in the day, Jungle Pam, and I know Lisa's the deal still does it. She's probably the only main.
Oh, yeah.
And this, I think Miss Bodie, right, sort of still did it for a while. But the rest, but you're right, I didn't see a lot at the national event level. And of course, it's crazy popular on the nostalgia circuits, right? The nostalgia funny cars, the nostalgia gassers. That's a whole.
Yep.
Do you guys sort of target certain categories of cars, or just pretty much?
So we're
anyone
really
who wants
just
to put
starting
them?
out right now. As of now, we're just doing a broad, it's NHRA what we're focused on now. Myself and a few other females, we do the Nitro Chaos series, and then Veronica Gallegos. They're with us over in the Nitro Chaos series as well. So those are the two markets that we're really focusing on now. Once we get up and running and we get more women behind us, then we'll push for other avenues. But right now, that's where we're going to be at.
Sounds great. Well, do you I'm gonna ask I mean, Nitro Alley, I know you said earlier before the show that Maxine was going to cover the majority of this, so I'm not ignoring you. I'm coming your way soon. But do you guys have like criteria for women to apply, and is there certain things that they have to sign up to do, certain training they have to do? How does it sort of work, the nuts and bolts of it?
So the way that we've done it so far is you have your general application. And on our application, I included some base information, just a few general questions about drag racing, a few questions about yourself, so they can go through, answer those. And so if you obviously get those questions correct, then you'll move on, and then I'll do a interview. A lot of our women are all over the US. So,
Right.
I can't just go meet them in person. So we do the same thing we're doing now. We do a Zoom
Right.
interview. And so in that Zoom interview, I really focus on how well they're spoken. Essentially, it's hard to keep eye contact with somebody, when you're just on a Zoom meeting.
Right.
So I don't really take that into account. It's just your ability to carry on a conversation. And so I'll bring up just random topics, tell me your history on drag racing. And it's really that ability to keep the conversation moving, no dead silence, because we want these women to be well-spoken. I mean, you're going to be in front of thousands of fans, and people are going to be coming up to you. So you're going to have to be able to keep that conversation moving. So that's a lot of it too. And then as far as the technical side of things, as I've told Allie before, we want these women to understand cars. And, that's not something that I'm directly focused on at the beginning. That's all learned. 5 years ago, I didn't even know what a funny car was.
Sure.
And so I'm not so much as focused on these women trying to understand what putting a hole out means and stuff like that. So eventually we'll get to the point where if these women aren't directly related to a car and actually understand that, there will be training on that. But that's not necessarily a requirement to get in. It's definitely a learned trait that we'll get to eventually. And, down the road, we're going to have women out on the track. And that's another thing. And it's going to be a lot of training. Obviously, you're not going to put somebody out in front of a top fuel car that has never been out there before. It's going to be a lot of smaller stuff. So, that's the great thing with our series that we run. So we run Nitro Chaos. It's a step below NHRA. You still get the feeling of these big cars. It's still loud. It still gives you that. And so, that's a great starting point for somebody, especially coming into this, that we could get them out on the track, get them to feel and understand. But the whole thing is just a learning process. And essentially, the best way to get involved with us right now is to be well spoken.
That sounds awesome. Sounds like pretty soon
Mhm.
you'll be able to set up a Frank Holly drag racing school for drag racing ambassadors.
Essentially, yeah.
Very cool. Well, let me go to well, first of all, let's check in with John real quick. John, do we have anybody out there? I'm checking on my watch here. It's about 10 minutes in. Anybody have anything to say hello or have
Yes,
a question?
yes, we've had a few people show up here just in the last minute or so. Miss K in Salt Lake City says, good evening to everybody with Salt City Muscle. And Meg Gianni says, hi, Shannon and Nitro Alley, your racing bestie is on. And she added, she said, you are the sweetest girls on tonight. I actually have known Shannon since earlier this year, late last year, but they are both so sweet. And Allie is a sweetheart, and Shannon is too.
Oh,
And we agree. And
Hi,
Mark
Megan.
Malinsky, yeah, Mark Malinsky in New Jersey is checking in and says good evening to everybody. And we're caught up for the moment.
sounds good. Well,
No,
tell your friends.
sorry,
We
Randy Johnston is also here, and he says good evening.
howdy, Randy. We're having to Allie, we talk or Mad Maxine rather talked with Allie before the show. We just transitioned from Facebook, and I don't think our herd has found us yet. They need to move over and see us. But so we need to find us here on the YouTube channel. But we'll make it happen. Maybe we'll talk to some of these smart guests of ours who could tell us how to do better PR, like that cool spinning art that John did. This beautiful poster behind us, but they did that cool spinning thing as you guys promoted it. But Allie, so you know, we're doing this very poorly, but you two have a podcast yourselves. Tell us about your podcast. It's the Max and Allie Show. And tell us
That's
all
right.
about that.
Yeah, no, we're really excited about that. It started off as, hey, let's just see what happens. Let's go live and, maybe start talking to some of our backup girls, our ambassadors, to kind of get a feel for them, so we can introduce them to our racing audience, if you will. And then we also wanted to interview, different drivers on a get to know you basis. And that has been great. Just recently we had Miss Kelly Anderson on. And she's the drag racing grandma that we absolutely love and adore. But she, as a drag racer herself, she also promotes racing in the foster care community because that's something near and dear to her heart. So we were able to promote her charity organization that is encompassing children and drag racing. So again, we've only done, I think last week was our 7th episode. And we've run into some technical difficulties here and there. So we're kind of making our way through, but there's been a lot of interest. And even this upcoming week, we've got Greg Hunter and legendary backup girl Stacy Hunter coming on with us. So there's a lot of excitement surrounding that as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we our middle name here is technical difficulties. We chase this thing around the internet. We used to do it with a beautiful radio studio in Myrtle Beach, and when we started out, and that our partner Jeff there decided he was going to go produce golfing shows and actually make some money, and so he did. We went, hat in hand, trying to figure out some way of doing it, but it's getting along. It's as long as we're bringing the data to the crowd. But you mentioned the cause, so what sort of causes do you support? Do you have? I mean, obviously Junior's behind you. I know that you got a history there, and I think I did catch that show. The first one I saw was the one that you just did, which was really awesome. But sort of, what else do you support at the track?
Absolutely, the junior drag racing program. My kids went through that. I had 4 kids go through the juniors. And it was such a wonderful experience. And the kids really are the future of this sport. And we need to bring more children in and help them progress through the ranks. Doesn't matter, whether they go into the sportsman classes, the pro classes, they stay grassroots, whatever they want to do. We need to keep the sport going. We need to, utilize them to help keep our drag strips open. As many of them have shut down. So anything involving children, we are 100% behind anything involving drag racing or racing in any capacity. I mean, our favorite is drag racing, but racing as a whole, we are 100% behind. And again, just a shout out to the Mavix community outreach. You know, I was really excited to highlight them. Again, they focus on children that are in the foster care community that really don't have anywhere to go after they turn 18. So they're trying to get these kids involved in drag racing, just helping in the pits, teaching them different things, getting them more, you know, that technical experience on the car. So maybe they could move into the automotive industry in some capacity after they are released from the foster care program. And that way they have a direction. It was just heartbreaking to hear, you know, where these kids are going when they don't have direction and the things they're susceptible to. So again, we're happy to promote anything, any junior dragster driver that wants to come on. We're happy to highlight them and give them a little bit of visibility and notoriety.
That sounds fantastic. My daughter actually, and I'll brag a little bit. She does the same thing in Chicago with young moms, unfortunately, who age out of the system, and these kids need help. I'm so happy and glad that you guys are doing that. Well,
Absolutely.
tell us so like how you got started in racing. Maybe Allie, you can get started, and then we can go to Maxine. Maxine, I know you got yanked into it 5 years ago, as you, but with your husband's funny car, perhaps. I don't know if it's been a funny car the whole time, but how'd you get started, Allie?
Well, I grew up around racing. My father used to race go-karts. There's pictures of me sitting in his lap as a little. And then my kids went through the junior drag racing program. I had to step away for personal reasons for a number of years and then came back, and I was welcomed with open arms. And I love it. It's in my blood. It's who I am. It's what I breathe. It makes me happy. And, you know, having this partnership with Maxine has just been phenomenal. You know, I've been over the past couple of years, Doug Coletta's team has adopted me. I can't even tell you how that happened, but it's been truly wonderful. And he knew I was going to name drop him today, and he did great yesterday. Unfortunately, lost in the finals, but still he's up there in the points. But you know, it's just something that I believe in, especially with the backup girls. It gives me a reason to dress up and wear sparkly boots, but to promote the sport and bring that nostalgia back and that fun back to drag racing. So again, not as significant of a story as Maxine, but something I truly love and I will always be involved with.
It's an awesome story. We that's why we love talking to everybody here, you know, all angles of the sport. And I'm a big Dougie fan too, man. I going way back to the run, right? I mean, he was the quickest, well, whatever. We won't go on and on, but he won that championship and he's rocking it.
Yes,
so
he is.
Maxine, sorry, tell us about, you know, so have you guys, were you always racing funny cars, or did you kind of move up to that class from a couple other sorts of cars, or how did that work?
So it all started, my husband, well, my now husband, he was just some bearded guy on Facebook that he had a set of blue beadlock wheels in the back of his, I think he had a car or something, and he had them back there. And so I sent him a message. I was like, oh, you know, and it sparked conversation. And so from then on, I was intrigued. And so then we moved into dating, and, you know, as we were dating, I fell in love with the blue Firebird he had. And unfortunately, I came along too late and I never got to see him run it. But that was my all-time favorite car. And that's honestly, I fell in love with his car before I fell in love with him. And so he ended up selling that car right when I came along. And so his next up was a pro mod that he named Betty White. And, you know, that one just turned into a lot more work than what he anticipated. So it was a lot more time in the shop, like getting it. I think it was front half, back half. I mean, the whole thing was a very long, drawn out process. And then he ended up, I ended up getting pregnant with Kinsley. And so I was out at the track pregnant as he was running this car, and he got a few runs in and then, you know, put it back. His dad in the process. So we have two different drivers, and that confuses a lot of people. But my father-in-law, he started out as Mad Max was an altered. And so we took Mad Max to Indy to do some testing. And like first or second pass down, it shook the body so hard. It tore the wing up. It tore all sorts of stuff up. So it's like, okay, like we're down to scratch again. We need to throw a body on it. And so then it turned into a funny car. And so Dave is my father-in-law, and he drives it primarily, and every once in a while, if we have an extra race, he'll throw Ryan in the car. And so there was one race he threw Ryan in Mad Max, and it's night and day, I guess. I've never experienced it because I don't drive it, but talking to Ryan, from driving a Pro Mod to driving a Nitro funny car, he's like, I can't get back in this thing. Like, I want to sell it. Me over here, voice of reason, I'm like, absolutely not. Like, you just got that thing back. Like, no, I think you're ridiculous. And so we kind of left it alone for a while. And it's sat, collected a little bit of dust. And then I brought out the Mad Maxine kind of as a joke, because there was a backup girl contest and they won $500. I was like, I could do that. And so the next race, I dressed up. And so, I dressed up in this all black outfit, very popular. I felt extremely strange because, I out of my element. But after that, I was like, this is really fun. Like it's a totally different type of racing. So, just going from the Pro Mod to the people that are running Nitro funny cars and
different
night
crowd.
and day difference. Oh my gosh. And so I looked at Ryan, I was like, sell that thing, let's go.
That's great.
So then finally got that thing sold. And then he recently purchased a car that we're going to debut this year called Nitro Bandito. So it is going to get its debut as an altered. And then I'm heavily trying to convince him to run the funny car body next year. But, we were kind of drug into it as far as racing goes, but it's been a 5-year progression. Like, it's just go, 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 go. And, I'm at the point now, I jumped in head first. I was like, let's do it. And so I'm really an entrepreneur, and like an opportunist is a great word. So when I see an outlet that I can get through to go big, let's go big or go home. So it started off with us just running Mad Max. It had this ugly old like 95 Mustang body on it. And so Dave put the new one on. We're like, okay, now we have something to sell. And so then it came the crew shirts, and then it came Maxine with the blue boots. And so we've essentially built this entire program to be an empire. Like, we're a force to be reckoned with. And luckily we finally got the car on track to where it's sellable. We want to be top dogs. And so really it's been a very quick but yet slow progression, and we finally got here.
That's awesome. So it sounds like, well, let me just ask the question. Are you guys coming to Budds Creek, Maryland in August for that big chaos event?
Nope. So we run the Nitro Chaos series.
Gotcha.
So Nitro Chaos is a little bit different than Funny Car Chaos. So Nitro Chaos, you have to have, I think it's at least 80% nitro in the tank to be able to run. Gotcha. So we chose that series versus the Funny Car Chaos series. And so, towards the end of the year, we got a big race, and it's all the way out in California. So we're going to make the haul all the way out in California.
Nice. Rock and roll. Well, I know you guys get to go to Eddyville, our old favorite track there that we had the Draglist Nationals there for the first, we used to do a reunion of the folks who read the website, and some of our close friends, we became very close. So we would do a Draglist Nationals. And the first 5, I think, were at Eddyville, and then we started moving them around, but need to get back to that. Well, let's get back to John and see. I see you over there typing and reading the screen. John, who's on there saying hello tonight?
Well, we got a few more people here tonight. Jim Sanders says, hi, gang, checking in from St. Louis. And Scott Woodfin says, good evening.
Hi, Scott.
Rich Panicaro in New Jersey says, hey, gang. And Jack Red is with us tonight. He says, hi, all. He says, Jack is back, and I am back, luckily. Meg Gianni says, I even got to be on the podcast episode.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Stephen Panic says, hi, Shannon and Allie. Hi, guys.
Hi, Steven.
Maxine, they're giving away your secret identity here.
And
Oh,
Jim
no.
Sanders, he came back and said it's great to be here, and everybody's having a good time. We're all listening to y'all. Y'all are really giving us a great interview here.
Awesome. Rock on, guys. So Jim Sanders out of St. Louis, his uncle is Kurt Wasson, who used to run the Superstition funny car, one of the famous match race funny cars back in the day. Jack Red, of course, longtime East Coast fuel racing promoter and a magazine and editor, and has been doing this stuff for about 60 years. And I get to hang out with him on the weekends. It's a lot of fun when we do drags. So welcome, everybody. Glad to have you here. Let's talk. Well, we were just talking about the cars. So what are some of your, some of the folks, let's just go to the story time. Are any kind of, and I'll go with Allie here, what's some of your favorite stories from the track where like some weird quirk of fate or something, maybe on their way to and from the track or something happened at the track? Any stories stick out in your mind?
Nothing major. I mean, for me, just getting involved in this, just one day I was at the track and someone liked how I dressed and thought I was a backup girl. I'm all, no, I just do this. And actually, true story is I had posted a very shiny, sparkly, patriotic outfit getting ready for Veterans Day weekend at Pomona for the finals. And one of my superiors at work basically said, I don't have the guts to wear that. Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
And I did. And then it kind of, snowballed from there because I was over in the, oh gosh, now I just totally blanked, where they have all the nostalgic cars.
Yeah.
My picture was just, hey, come over here, take a picture. And then, of course, Joe Sherwood got wind of those pictures and put it on the backup girls page, and it just kind of went from there. So I guess I was kind of catapulted into this, not really realizing what was going on. And so, I mean, that's kind of it for me. As far as drag racing stuff, I don't have any crazy stories to tell at this point yet, but I know for a fact that Mad Maxine does.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a challenge, Maxine.
I don't have a whole lot of crazy stories. Obviously, my favorite stories include us breaking track records. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool. So we actually are proud owners of these records. We hold I believe the specifics of it is the Nostalgia Funny Car record at Milan for quarter mile. And then just recently, 2 weeks ago, we broke the 8th mile record at Edgewater Motorsports Park, which is my favorite track. So those are great moments that we have as a team. We haven't picked up that win yet. It's coming. I know it's coming. Our guys work extremely hard. And no win stories yet, unfortunately, but we do have track records and we'll take that.
That sounds awesome. A good old Cincy, man. What makes you like Cincinnati the best? Edgewater.
I have a very long list. So, I've been around. I've been backing the car up for about 3 seasons now. And you go to these tracks, and a lot of the time, as you're going to these tracks, yes, they have great facilities. Yes, the fans are great, but there's just something about Edgewater. The staff there is just phenomenal. And I'll go out and say that, the guys were flying in right before a race. It was Dave and Ryan, and they were flying in, and one of their staff members was like, hey, if you guys need a ride from the airport, like, we'll come pick you up. And they're like, no, we're landing at 1:00 in the morning. They're like, call my cell phone, like, we will come get you. And so that's the kind of hospitality that they have there. It's not really a snooty environment, I guess you could say. It's very down home, grassroots, like the best, like humble people. And they've got this great bar there, like First Round Lounge. If you have not been to Edgewater, you need to go just to visit the bar. They have this bar area that overlooks the track. So essentially, if you lose out first round, you can go up to the bar, hang out on the patio, watch the cars run right by you with a drink. And it's air conditioned too if you want to go inside, get some air conditioning, cool off a bit. But it's just that welcoming environment that they have. They do have great facility there. They definitely have a well put together track. For us laying down the numbers that we did 2 weeks ago, that will tell you right there how great the track prep is. So it's just all around a great experience.
That's awesome. Well, those are two of the really venerable IHRA national event tracks. Edgewater had a national event for IHRA, so did Milan, and it's. I'll bet you guys are very close. You mentioned that you had the nostalgia funny car record, but I'll bet you're getting awful close to the all-time fuel funny car records at those places because they didn't run them that much, right? I mean, after a bit, the 80s, I think IHRA stopped running. And back then, Jim Head and Dale Poldy and folks like that, and Mark Candies and Hughes with Mark Oswald, those guys were, the big guys on that circuit. And they were running, mid fives, to high fives, 570s and stuff. So, but you guys are in the fives, aren't you? What are the best times for
So
the
we run, so for Milan is the only track that we run quarter mile.
Okay.
It's an exhibition race. We just show up as a show car, put on the show. So we ran a 5:45 at Milan, and then Edgewater was in competition, so it was eighth mile, and we ran a 3:56, I believe is what the number was. And we are second to that all-time track record. Megan Meyer had a top fuel dragster. Last year in Nitro Chaos, they allowed those top fuel dragsters in competition, and so she put down I think a 350. But coming into this year, they banned them, so it's just us.
Yeah, just the front engine cars, not those high dollar
engine has to be in front of you.
Yeah, those A-Fuel dragsters are running like times that many of the top names in Top Fuel have never touched, in their careers. But that's how drag racing goes. It just keeps on going that way. Well, what I did want to give you guys a chance. Let's talk about this. What are your interests away from the track? Allie, what do you like to do when you're not at the drags or at the car shows?
I am a huge country music fan, and I love my other outlet aside from racing is line dancing. So I will go to my favorite place in Norco, California, Whiskey River, and I've been going there for years. I have my dance family there that I dance with regularly, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So yeah, that's something, I work in law enforcement as my regular career. So I've got two very healthy outlets to get me away from that. Again, the dancing and of course, drag racing.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Yeah. Maxine, what about you?
I wish I could tell you that I have this big long list of, hey, these are all the activities I do. We live, breathe, and will die drag racing. So it's really a full-time thing for us. Like the winter, you're busy getting stuff together, getting your car ready, and it's always something. There's always something to do. And if we're not drag racing, my husband and I like to go go-karting. So that's kind of it's still kind of racing. But the problem is my husband and I are actually really competitive. And quick story on that is Ryan and I, one of our first dates, honestly, we show up to the go-kart track in Speedway, Indiana. It's where all the top Indy car drivers, if you're any type of race car driver, that's where you go, and they throw all the records up on the board. They're all big names, that's where they go and they play. But Ryan and I went on our first date there. And they put you don't really get to pick who you're racing with. And so there's, dozens and dozens of people there. And so our group got called up, and we get up there and there's this girl in a long denim skirt in flip-flops. And I'm like, gosh, dang it. It's an indoor track. It's really tight. So if you have anybody on that track that is less than fantastic, it's going to be terrible. Your times are going to be terrible. And so, we're dreading it. And so I'm coming up and I know that's her in front of me. And so I'm right on her tail. Ryan comes up behind me. I have to slow down for her. Ryan comes up behind me, hits my go-kart. My go-kart goes into her. Her go-kart actually went up into the air, came back down, and it broke my hand.
Oh no.
So if that gives you any idea on how competitive Ryan and I are, that's the summary for it. But if we're not drag racing, we're racing in some capacity.
I think I may have been to that place. A bunch of Division I photographers and racers, and I tagged along with them to Indy one year, and we went someplace that was pretty serious. I don't know if that was that. I mean, there's
Oh, I'm
probably
sure it's there.
millions
That's
in
the
town.
only place in Indy you can go.
Okay, well, that was it then. It was a blast. And I've
And
heard, I
that's
think
something.
Kepner was with us, and I believe ended up upside down, if I'm not mistaken. Brett Kepner, one of my
Gosh.
good buddies. I don't know if you ever had a chance to meet Kepner. He is an awesome guy, one of the top announcers in drag racing history. So, and one of our pals. So, but a wild man. He was like, it was balls out. That's how it worked. Well,
Well, watch out in Vegas when Max and I go to Vegas in end of October. That's something that we plan on doing, is doing a little go-kart racing with some of the other drivers there. There's already been some talk of some SmackDown, and just a little side funny story. The first time Maxine and I ever met, we were actually strangers online. Yeah, never meet anyone online. And then we met in Las Vegas.
yeah.
And here we are. But yeah, no, we had a good time in Las Vegas at the 4 Wide promoting the NDRA. But now that it's grown and we've kind of talked a little smack to some drivers, saying that we could beat them on the go-kart track, that it's going to be a fun little exhibition, we'll say, at the end of October.
Bring it on.
It's on like Donkey Kong.
Oh,
That's John. John, how are you doing, buddy? I see you talking to some folks. They got anything for us? Any questions or comments?
Yes, we do. Jim Sanders just said, dang it, would have enjoyed seeing Allie show up at one of my country music karaoke nights. And Stephen Panic said, Mad Maxine and I don't too far from each other. He says, mimosas rule.
Got it. I agree.
Jim Sanders also pointed out Kurt Wasson's funny car was called Superstitious.
Uh-huh.
And I have a question for y'all. Since you're involved with the Junior Drag Racing League and so forth, could you estimate how many junior dragsters are there?
Oh,
Throughout time?
It looks to me like there's thousands of them.
I'd say.
yeah, I honestly don't know how many there are nationwide. Unfortunately, our numbers are diminishing on the West Coast, is at least what I am told. So we're definitely trying to build that up a little bit more. But I know drag racing is huge in Texas. Everything is bigger in Texas. We all know that. And in the Midwest and East Coast. But yes, there are several thousand of them, which is good. We just want to increase those numbers, of course.
I've seen hundreds of them here, and of course, we don't have a drag strip here anymore. They closed down Houston Raceway Park, and now Houston Motorsports Park is an 8th-mile track on the northeast side, and then there used to be a track about 40 miles west of Houston in Sealy. Then San Antonio has a quarter-mile track, but the last event I went to was in Dallas, and that was back in October. And I'm going back again this next October, and I'm taking my drummer with me because he's never been to an NHRA event, and I know it's going to blow his mind, So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, I've always been curious about the numbers of junior dragsters because there's just so many of them, and I do a racer of the week, and sometimes people recommend one of their kids or a team that they work on and everything, as a junior dragster. So in fact, the guy that I'm featuring tonight, his daughter drives a junior dragster in New Zealand.
Pretty amazing. Well,
Awesome.
that's down your way, John. A couple of junior dragster drivers were named Erica Enders and
yes, Erica.
And
and
those kids.
Sean Langdon too.
Yeah.
He started
and
out
so
that
I've announced, I used to do an East Coast Junior Dragster Nats at Budds Creek, and there were well over 200-300 cars that would just come from all over. And that's just that one side. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we do have that. The Eastern
please, go
Conference
ahead.
Finals are happening here in Bristol in the middle. I believe it's the second week of July. So, and I know that one packs a crowd. There's a lot of kids, and we'll even get kids from the West Coast going over to the Eastern Conference Finals to participate as well. So you'll see some good numbers out there.
It's the nationals. It's great, and it's muscle memory, man. Once those little monsters, learn how to do it, they are killers forever.
That's right.
Well, let's I'm running out of time here as I look at the watch on the wall. But do you guys have any shout outs to any sponsors or folks who've helped you kind of get things set up? And we can go individually or together, however you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great people. I'm going to do a shout out to the Mavix community outreach, of course, for Miss Kelly Anderson, Blue Valor Whiskey. Thank you for your support towards law enforcement and everything that you do. I Am Famous Enough is another clothing line that I tend to represent a little bit as well. And of course, Ghost Longboard. So I have to do a shout out to them for their continued support.
Nice. So do you surf as well? Is that what I just heard?
They're skateboards.
Oh, scoop. I got you. Okay. Shows what I know. I'm a dorky old guy from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Thanks, Allie. How about you, Maxine?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, starting last year, we didn't have any sponsors. So, we're put us on the map now. We've got several. So JB Construction is a really big sponsor for us. Shout out to those guys. They're based out of Texas. Then we have another one based out of Texas, which is Callaway Customs. Callaway Customs came on board as my 2024 boot sponsor, and now we've roped them in, and they support the car as well. Belmont's Garage is another great sponsor that we have. Andy Mears is a great supporter that I have. Andy has supported me really from the beginning, whether it be calendars, hero cards, pretty much the works. So I believe that is all of them. I'm probably forgetting somebody, but
the guys who take care of the car too. We could even shout a couple of them too, but that was included.
Oh, if I could do one more, actually two more. Generosity, they're based out of Nevada, and they do great fundraising with their tea. And I also, because Scott came on, I got to do a shout out to my favorite arson dog, Canine Ashley, because I know they're watching right now.
Awesome. Thank you. The generosity is something you drink, not something you wear. So
that is correct. It's a tea that gives proceeds to various organizations such as breast cancer awareness, Wounded Warriors types foundations, and they did one for the Humane Society.
Humane Society too, right? Yep.
Awesome. Yep. Fantastic. All right. Well, man, thanks so much. Let's wrap with, where can folks find you online? Actually, we'll do this first, and then we'll go and see if anybody has any final thoughts from the chat. But where can they find you? Where can we hear this great podcast of yours?
Well, the podcast, we do it every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific on the NDRA Facebook page. It is a live broadcast. And then we do put that on YouTube, our YouTube channel of the Max and Allie Show. It's also on all the major platforms such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts as well. You just need to search for the Max and Allie Show.
Oh, so you're going to hook a brother up and tell him how to do all that stuff, right?
I got you.
And Maxine, same place, right? I know that I've seen you on Facebook. Do you have a Mad Maxine site, or is it the Mad Max?
I do. So I have an individual. So Allie and I both have individual pages. Hers is under Nitro Allie, and then mine is under Mad Maxine. And we also have a page for our race team under Hill Family Racing.
Cool. Awesome. Well, folks, that's where to go. And let's wrap with the folks from the chat. John, anybody with any final thoughts?
Yes, Rich Panicaro just said, 2 great and beautiful women. Steve Panic said, great show this evening. Jim Sanders said, if you recall, the Draglist member, Derek Allen, who was a Racer of the Week a few years back, started out as a junior dragster. And Salt City Muscle, Miss K is down to go kart racing in Vegas, ladies.
Yay!
There you go.
Let's go.
Sounds like a triple threat to me.
And she also said, Nitro Allie and Mad Maxine rock, but much respect to you both. And I agree.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
thanks so much for coming on. This has been a blast. It's been awesome to get to know you. I, kind of seen you online, and now we're buds. So anything we can do, let us know. Love to maybe get you back on here after the end of the year and see and kind of catch up on how the race season went and how the NDRA went.
That sounds great.
Sounds
We
good.
appreciate you having us on.
Oh, you bet. And all the best with your organization. I think it's fantastic. I think it can only grow. I think I'm really excited about it. So have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the season, and we'll see you guys somewhere down the road.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Ladies and
Bye-bye.
gentlemen, Nitro, Allie, Mad Maxine. We'll say farewell. We have to do it one at a time because we only have one button. But see you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Maxine.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Nitro Alley and Mad Maxine, so amazing. Let's go to John for his JV's take and Racer of the Week. John, take it away.
Thanks, BP. My pick for Racer of the Week is Aaron Phillips from Hamilton, New Zealand. I've been friends with Aaron for 11 years, and his upgraded version of the Phillips Family Racing 23 Model T Altered is an outstanding and highly competitive hot rod. It's the same hot rod I featured in 2013, but it's been made longer and more powerful. The car is powered by a 6-cylinder Ford Barra engine out of a Ford Falcon from Australia. And you can only get those engines in Australia or New Zealand, and it flies. They have only had it on 15 PSI, that's pounds per square inch of boost, and gone 7.7 ETs lifting early. Aaron told me the engine can handle 50 PSI. Aaron runs the car in the Comp Index class. He sent me a video of the Muscle Cars Universe Part 2 of the competition meeting number 5 at Miramere Dragway, south of Auckland, New Zealand. There is an excellent feature towards the end of the video on this unique car. Aaron, it is an honor for me to feature you in this great hot rod. You represent the very best in our sport, both as a family and as drag racers. Your creativity and engineering in this car is paying off big time. We wish you good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future. Well, I drove down to Baycliff last Wednesday to play at the Hump Day Jam at Katie's. I was a little nervous. It had been exactly 1 year since I played live, and that was with a big band. This was a lot more intimate. It was a pretty big crowd, and I felt like I was under a microscope. Well, actually, I was under a microscope. I played 4 songs with the band. I thought I sucked, but everybody told me I did fine. The band had a good time. I think in spite of my heavy-handed playing, my vocals got me through the ordeal. My friend Jackie, who was there, took a lot of videos of my performance, and I posted them on my Facebook page. They got 127 likes and several dozen positive comments. I guess I'm my own worst critic. I might do it again, but not for a while yet. I learned a lot from the last time, and next time will be better. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. We look forward to having you all with us every week. It's a great way for us to spend an hour together on a Monday night. I'll see you all next time. God bless America. Back to you, BP.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it, my friend. And great stuff there. And we put it up on the Supercrew World headquarters, and we put it up on the Draglist page, so you guys can see John rock out, which was very cool. Let's go on to some of our segments. I do want to announce that we got some racing coming up here this month. I was chatting with Greg Miller, the owner of Keystone Raceway Park, and I have committed and agreed to announce the Funny Car Nationals at Keystone Raceway Park on July 13th. So I hope you can join us up there. We're going to have a heck of a good time. Also on the 13th, unfortunately, and this happens like the last couple of years, but the calendar is what the calendar is. There is the Drag Racers Reunion at the Eastern Museum of Motor Racing. So if you can't come quite so far to Western Pennsylvania, stick around Eastern Pennsylvania and go to the great EMMR as they put on that drag racers reunion at that fantastic motorsports facility. Motorsports Museum, I should say, kind of a facility. But also, just to let you know, on the 20th, there's going to be a Ramrods reunion in Manassas, Virginia, for those folks who remember the Ramrods Car Club here in the DC area. So me and Mr. Jack will be heading up the road to a couple of these events. So cool stuff going on here. And thanks to Greg for the offer. And I cannot wait to get back up there and see some of my funny car pals. Upcoming guests, folks, we are working hard on lining them up. We do have a number of names that are very, very exciting, but we don't have those guys locked in on specific dates yet. So we will announce during the week. One of these days, we'll get the entire month posted for you. But I do want to thank Brandon Noble. I want to thank Kay Turkelson so much for all the work she does in this regard, and just doing an amazing job with that. And we'll announce next week's guest as soon as we can. We do intend to have guests every single night of this month. In August, I'm probably going to take the last, I don't know, I think probably the third Monday off, because I think I'll be out of town, but we'll see how things go. But for now, July is going to be packed with some amazing names as soon as we get them lined up and put the right racer or guest at the right slot. Let's go on to those we lost again. This is a really difficult week. If you guys follow Facebook, you've seen the majority of these probably. But on the 24th, Roger Richards passed away, a fantastic photographer, a great friend. I've known him for years. He's a friend to all our own Gina White. When Danny was with us, my friend, his lovely wife Gina actually did drag racing photography for us for Draglist, and did some amazing photography. You can still see it throughout the site. Roger Richards pulled her under his wing and gave her just a bunch of tips, and became like a big brother out there on the track to Gina White. So just an amazing guy. I've been in his home. I've met his family. He's just a lovely man. And farewell to you, sir. We just a great guy. Roger Richards passing away on the 24th. On the 28th, we lost John Greenwood, a sportsman racer. The thing you remember about John is his big, massive station wagon he used to drag race. But a wonderful guy that everybody loved, John Greenwood, passing away on the 28th. On the 29th, we lost Lizzie Musey, pro mod superstar. Of course, she raced a number of fast door car classes. Of course, the daughter of the legendary Pat Musey, pro stock and pro mod and super street champion. Lizzie, just a lovely person. We actually were very close to having Lizzie come on the show and visit with us a little bit after she got her cancer diagnosis about a year ago. Unfortunately, that was not able to happen, and I regret that as much as I regret, well, not as much, of course, her passing. Just a wonderful person that everybody loved, and you'll see just the internet just overflowing with love for Lizzie Musey this week. And our real condolences to Pat and his wife, and to everyone who loved Lizzie, and that was thousands. And then, folks, just today we learned of this. Dave Sims passed away today. He was a Ford Pro Stock racer out of Toledo, Ohio. Had a place called Custom Enterprise, so building race motors and racing mostly on the IHRA side of the Pro Stock ladder. Brett Kepner today said on Facebook that he was the first racer in history with a 700 cubic inch mountain motor. So Dave Sims, his claim to fame, but a great racer who was always qualifying for the IHRA shows, and passing away just today. So with that, farewell to those great folks, and thanks for the thrills. And again, when they leave us so young, like Lizzie, it's just devastating. But love to all her family and all her friends. And John, with that, before we say farewell, any final thoughts from you on today's show?
Yes, I have 2 points. First of all, Allie and Maxine were just fantastic guests tonight. I learned a lot from them, and what they're doing is good for not just for the backup girls or the junior dragsters, they're good for the sport of drag racing. And you know, they're helping us, and we appreciate that. We appreciate them coming on the show. And also, I've been keeping daily tabs on John Force, and John has improved. He's come out of his medically induced coma. He's opened his eyes and recognized his wife and his daughters. He's given a thumbs up, and he's talking. Of course, that's what John Force does best. And he's they had to restrain him to keep him from trying to jump out of the bed and get going on what he does. But John, we're still behind you 100%, and we care very deeply about you. And whatever you decide to do after this is fine with me. But for now, you better just stay in that bed and shut up and do what they tell you. You know, and I know you'll catch up with us when you're back on your feet, man.
You bet. Thank you. And you know, just an American legend on that. And
yes, he
we're,
is.
we're praying for him. So yeah, it was, you know, kind of quiet. Really didn't understand the full extent until a couple days later, but that's fine. And so now that we know, let's just get you better. That's the important thing. Well, thanks, John. Appreciate that. And folks, what I did here, I'm just trying to figure this thing out. As we do Twitter, I noticed that you know, we were the last image that appears is the image that stays up there on Twitter. I'm sorry, pardon me, YouTube is what I meant to say. That's the one that stays up on YouTube. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do our wrap, and I'm going to put this up, and I'm going to scooch to the side before I close the window. And then the last thing you will actually see is the poster with our friends on it. So let's do a talk about saying farewell. We want to thank Nitro Allie, who was just lovely and a wonderful. Mad Maxine, the very same, smart, accomplished ladies who are getting some cool things done. Thanks so much. Kay Turkelson, thank you, my friend, for introducing us and for all you do for us. John Balkman, my brother, thank you so much. Rob McCabe, who has taken over as our primary researcher. Rob is putting all the national event and other info into the drag lists, and I really want to thank him. By the way, special shout out this week to Steve Reyes, the great drag racing photographer, who has gifted us with several dozen photographs to put up on the drag lists. As he noted, there was a few places that didn't have a photo. Thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate it. And of course,
great news.
Yeah, and thank you forever to Danny White, our friend who you know, got this thing going from 1990 to 2022 or 2023, just filling up this the drag racing list with a bunch of data. We want to thank Jeff Gilder of Zeus Digital Marketing, Racers Reading, and Wingding Media for getting us started way back when. Once again, click the like, click the share, so your friends know this thing's out there, even if you're watching the recording. And be sure to check in on draglist.com every day. This week, we've got the full event coverage from Norwalk, plus special bonus because Ohio Dave Oaks lives up there. We've got photo review coverage from Norwalk's national event. Thanks to Dave. Put that up just today about noon, so go check it out. And folks, with that, I'll say farewell. We'll see you next Monday night for another great guest. Until then, have a great week. And we'll see you next week. John, adios.
Good night, folks.